Hello, boyos, and welcome to Last Week in Games, where everything is video games. And today I am joined by nobody, and we're going to be talking about the week of September 11th. And a lot of stuff happened last week. There was a Nintendo Direct that we're going to break down. There's a State of Play that we're going to break down. A bunch of Unity drama and some other stuff that we're going to talk about. So let's just jump into that with what we lovingly call the titties. These are some tidbits of news that we want to talk about. So let's start it off with our first titty here. Square Enix has lost $2 billion in value since the release of Final Fantasy 16. So they have lost, I believe, 28% in value since June, I believe, which is pretty unbelievable, pretty troubling for Square Enix. I think Square Enix might be in a bit of turmoil here, and I think it's pretty inevitable that eventually we are going to see a takeover of Square Enix by somebody. A lot of people are suggesting that maybe Sony will just gobble them up pretty soon, which would make the most sense because Final Fantasy has been pretty much exclusive to PlayStation since its inception. I mean, aside from those early Nintendo ones, it'd be pretty interesting if Nintendo gobbled them up. I've kind of been thinking that Square Enix was in trouble for a while now. I think ever since they sold Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, I feel like they've been in panic mode. I think there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that we're not seeing. I think things like Final Fantasy VII Remake took a lot longer than they anticipated. I think games like the Tomb Raider reboots didn't make as much as they were hoping. I think games like Avengers lost them a ton of money. I think Final Fantasy 16, well, it wasn't like a massive flop. I don't think it made as much as they were hoping it would make. I don't think Final Fantasy VII Remake made as much as they were hoping it would make. I don't think Kingdom Hearts 3 made as much as they were hoping it would make. And I think this just all has to do with a balloon in development prices. And I think we're seeing this happen across not just this industry, but every industry. We're seeing it in films. We're seeing Disney struggling right now because they've just been ballooning their production of all of their products. I mean, you could look at, the most recent Indiana Jones or The Little Mermaid, like huge flops, lost them a ton of money. And I think the same thing is happening to Square Enix, where they're pumping so much money into these quote unquote sure things. There's no way they could lose money on Final Fantasy, right? This has always made them money, even though they spent more on this game than they ever have on any of their other games. And yeah, it made about as much as the other ones. Like, of course. I think the one thing holding Square Enix afloat right now is Final Fantasy 14, their MMO. I think it's the one thing that's really holding them afloat right now. And the reason I said earlier, I thought they were in panic mode since they sold off Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal is because after they sold off Crystal Dynamics to Embracer Group made a deal with Amazon. So Amazon could have the rights to Tomb Raider for like $2 billion. Obviously, Square Enix just took the first deal that came to their door because they sold the entirety of Crystal Dynamics to them for like less than $2 billion. So I don't think Square Enix is long for this world, and it's sad because I love Square Enix games. I'm a huge fan. I mean, honestly, like right now I'm playing Octopath Traveler 2, which I'm enjoying greatly. I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. I think that's going to be awesome. It just sucks that Square Enix is probably going to get gobbled up by Sony or somebody, and it just sucks that more and more every day we're moving towards these just huge conglomerates, and it's kind of depressing. But that's just kind of where we're at in this modern day capitalistic world we live in. Speaking of huge conglomerates, we had a Nintendo Direct last week. Oh, so dumb. Yeah, we had a huge Nintendo Direct last week. It was about 42 minutes. And We predicted it last week. This is why you should always tune into this show, because we predicted that this would happen this week, and it happened. I want to say off the rip before we break it down, because we're going to break this whole thing down. I thought this was a fine direct. It was pretty long with not a whole lot of substance, but what they did show was fine, and I think they tempered our expectations before going in, just sort of saying like, hey, these are mostly announcements of things that we already know about, just a little bit more information about some things we already know about. And after seeing this direct, I'm fully of the belief the Switch is winding down. I think this is like kind of the last little bit of content that's going to be coming out for the Switch before we get the announcement of the Switch 2, probably early next year. We'll probably get the announcement probably in March is going to be my guess, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, let's break it down. Let's break down what we saw in this direct, and let's check it out. So we got a little trailer for the new Splatoon DLC that's going to be coming out. They said it's coming out next summer, which is exciting. I'm a huge fan of Splatoon, and it seems as though this is sort of a roguelike expansion. So it looks like a tower, and as you go, you unlock more guns, more equipment, and it's sort of procedurally generated. It looks like a ton of fun. I'm digging the whole like black and white aesthetic. It's sort of a nice little separation from like what we normally see in Splatoon, where it's just like tons of colors. So this black and white scheme is pretty interesting. Very much enjoying what we're seeing so far, and I think next summer I will be diving into this 100%. We got a trailer for Mario versus Donkey Kong, which I believe was like a Nintendo Game Boy game or like an advanced game or something, but they made it look nicer, and it's coming out in February. I don't know, this game doesn't do a whole lot for me. I believe it's like sort of a puzzle game. I'm not huge into like puzzles. I don't really know anyone who's like super hyped for this, but maybe this was sort of just an easy make for them. I don't know, like just an easy thing for them to just sort of pivot over to the Switch. This definitely seems like one of those things like we're running out of things to put on the Switch, so let's just make this real quick. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is coming. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which we've already seen at Summer Games Fest, continues to look amazing. This is coming to the Nintendo Switch in January, so keep your eyes out for this one. This game looks incredible. Such a return to form for Ubisoft. We haven't seen like a great 2D platformer like this from Ubisoft basically since Rayman Legends. So this is pretty exciting, and we haven't seen a new Prince of Persia game in years and years and years. So very, very excited for this one. This game called Horizon something or other is coming. Horizon Chase 2 is coming to the Switch. This is actually out now, so you can go play this. Looks like absolute dog shit, but here it is. Super Crazy Rhythm Castle is another sort of 4-player puzzle kind of game. Looks like chaos, but I don't know, looks kind of neat. I don't know, did they say a release date on this one? Yeah, I don't think there's a release date on that one, but still, something to check out, I guess. I wasn't too impressed by a very short trailer, so not much to say. Spy Anya is another sort of like indie looking game that I'm not totally sure what this game is. Is it a farming sim? Is it a card game? Is it a video game novel or whatever? Graphic novel? I'm not sure. But here it is. We got some more information about Mario RPG, which is coming out in February, I believe. It looks incredible. Once again, just another old ass game that Nintendo is sort of remaking and porting over to the Switch. But it looks incredible. They showed us some of the game mechanics, and yeah, it looks like a ton of fun, and kind of exactly what you would want from a remake of this game. If you've never played the original, I think this is definitely the way to play it, because the original is pretty fucking dated at this point, but this looks incredible, and I'm very excited for it. Another code, Relocation. This I don't know the history of this game. Sort of looks artsy fartsy, I guess. I don't know a whole lot about this game, but another thing to keep your eye on. I don't think they put a release date on this one either, but the visuals look pretty nice, all things considered. Does appear to be like some sort of puzzle game, and once again, not a huge puzzle fan, but I'm digging the aesthetic of this one. Oddly, we got a bit more information about that new Peach game, which I'm blanking on the name of. Let me look it up real quick. Princess Peach Showtime is the name of the game, and it's looking pretty good. I wasn't expecting to see this here because, they just announced it literally like last month, and didn't give us any information on it at all other than they're working on a Princess Peach game. But then they showed up here, and not only did they show us a little bit more of like what the game is, which appears to be sort of Princess Peach transforming into like different versions of herself, but also they gave us a release date of March. So this game's actually coming out very soon. And I gotta say, this game, it looks really good, actually. It gives me vibes of the Kirby Forgotten Dreamland, just in the sense that Princess Peach is finally like getting her own game, and it seems to be like, oh, this is what a Princess Peach game should be. And I feel like that's what the Kirby, the Forgotten Land was. Like, this game looks like a slam dunk. I'm loving all of her different outfits, and it does seem that she's getting a ton of different outfits, which also kind of makes me think more of Kirby as well, because Kirby is all about him transforming a lot. Yeah, I'm just very excited for this game. I think it looks very, very good. Saga Emerald Beyond looks like a very nerdy sort of Japanese game that if you're into that kind of thing, this is definitely a game to check out. All he said is it's available in 2024. Looks like a RPG of sorts. So yeah, definitely give it a look. Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remaster is coming to Nintendo Switch in February. And I gotta say, this is actually pretty exciting. I was always a huge Tomb Raider fan as a kid. My dad owned a PS1 back in the day, and he owned all the Tomb Raider games, which in turn meant that I played all the Tomb Raider games as a small child. Now, one thing I'm wondering about this, I think it looks really good. I think the way they updated it looks really nice. And from what I'm hearing behind the scenes is that they actually put a lot of work into this remaster. And it's not just like a half-ass port, which is very exciting. But one thing I do wonder is if they updated the controls at all, maybe moved away from that sort of tank style that those original Tomb Raiders had. But I'm going to have to assume they didn't, because that was like the main gameplay element of that game. So I can't imagine this game without those tank controls. And I do wonder how people will sort of receive that sort of gameplay, because going back and playing those things, that's not exactly the greatest, but who knows? Maybe people will like find a new appreciation for that kind of gameplay style. People seem to really love those old Resident Evils that had the sort of tank controls, although the remakes kind of took away those tank controls. But I don't know, maybe people will grow a new fondness for tank controls with these new Tomb Raiders. I doubt it, though. I think it's just like a fun little collection to have on the Switch. We got more information on Detective Pikachu, which is coming out in October. Yeah, everyone's favorite little guy is back, and he's doing some detective work. We love that. We got an announcement that Trombone Champ is on Switch now. You can go play Trombone Champ. I actually played and beat Trombone Champ on PC forever ago, and I love the fact that you can actually play this with the gyro on your on your Joy-Cons. So if you wanted to play it that way, go ahead. It seems like a very interesting way to play it. This game is a total nightmare, and yeah, I think everyone's gonna love playing it. This game called Battle Crush got announced. I don't know, it looks like sort of like a hero, sort of League of Legends type deal. Looks kind of bad, so not even gonna spend a whole lot of time on it. War Tales, another sort of RPG type deal. I don't want to say like in the vein of Baldur's Gate, but I mean, it kind of has that sort of style. Like if Baldur's Gate was made for $5, I think that's what this game is. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what this game is. I doubt it'll be very good, but here it is. We're getting some more Contra over on the Switch, and people love Contra, so get hyped for that. If you like Contra, more Contras here, baby. And it actually looks nice. I think this looks very fun. I've always enjoyed Contra. It is sort of weird that how in this trailer it looks kind of framey. And I don't know, the graphics to me almost look phone gamey. But that doesn't mean that it can't be a lot of fun. So, I don't want to take that away from anyone. Unicorn Overlord, I guess I just don't understand why they called it that. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like sort of another, I want to say like Darkest Dungeon kind of deal. Sort of Darkest Dungeon style to it. It looks kind of fun. It looks like it could be cool. But I mean, I'm not like holding my breath over it. And Unicorn Overlord, I don't know why they would name it that. That is just such a weird decision. But it looks like it could be fun. I don't know. There's something that people have been speculating for a long time now. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is officially coming to the Switch. I think it's about time. And like I said before, this does feel like we're coming to the end of the Switch's life cycle. So let's just get everything we can onto the Switch. And here it is, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD Edition, which is coming out next summer. We did get a showcase of the new Nintendo Museum that's opening up. So if you want to go check out the Nintendo Museum, that's the thing that's happening. And also the fact that Sora is getting an amiibo. So now every single Smash character has their own amiibo. So there you go. Does anyone actually buy amiibos? I know I don't, but maybe you do. So there you go. Get excited. This was a sort of interesting one. Mute City, or not Mute City, F-Zero 99 got announced for the Switch. And not only did it get announced, it got released that day. And basically it's Tetris 99, but instead of Tetris, it is F-Zero. And I actually got a chance to play a little bit of it. And I gotta say, it's very fun. It is very, very fun. I think it's lacking a little depth. To be honest with you, I think it kind of sucks that it really doesn't go down to the last person, like I thought it would just keep eliminating people until there's one racer left. But really there's 3 laps and people do get eliminated over those 3 laps. But by the end, there's still like 60 people left in the match and you just get a like top 60. So it would be cool if they had a version where it keeps eliminating down to the final person. But I actually found it very fun. It added a level of depth to the original F-Zero that the original F-Zero didn't have. And it's surprisingly fun, and all the different things you can unlock is super neat. And you could tell they actually they took a little time to make this. And I hope this doesn't go the route of Mario 35, where it was just sort of on the Switch shop for like a year and then taken off. I hope it's there for a while. But it's very fun. Check it out if you have Switch Online. Bandle Tale, a League of Legends story, is coming. It's coming out in 2024. It looks kind of cute. I can't lie. It looks kind of cute. Looks like a lot of like crafting and farming, and yeah, it looks kind of fun and cute. So if you're into that sort of thing, that sort of Stardew Valley thing, here's something for you. And I am into Stardew Valley. So Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story, is coming to the Nintendo Switch as well. And this looks more like a sort of platformer type game. And this actually looks kind of fun as well. I'm kind of liking this direction that League of Legends is going. Like, hey, let's make games out of all these amazing characters we've created. And this comes out November 1st. I can't imagine it's going to be like too in depth, but it actually looks very good. And we do live in a landscape where we don't have a lot of platformers these days. So pretty neat. WarioWare Move It is coming to the Switch in November as well. So if you love those WarioWare games, this is definitely going to be a fun one. This one is a lot like the Switch era sort of things where a lot of movement. So definitely getting drunk with your friends and playing this game is going to be a blast. Euden Chronicles 100 Heroes is coming out next year. I believe they said April. This looks like another JRPG type game. It looks pretty good. Just sort of another one that I would want to wait on reviews on. All of these RPGs can look amazing, but you don't know until they actually come out, you know? And it does appear that this is sort of a remake, but I know nothing about the original. I would have to do a little bit of research before I made any sort of definitive statements about it. So maybe this is the way to get into it. Maybe it's a bad port, you know? With the amount of ports we get these days, a lot of them are bad. So I have no idea. I know no history of this game. So I can't really say too much, but I'm sure there's a big fan base out there that's excited for this one. Eastward Octopia seems like another sort of Stardew Valley game. I have heard some people talk about it where it's fun for a little bit. I guess some people have played this already. I saw some articles about it, and they said it's pretty fun for a minute, but it gets old pretty quick. So yeah, a lot of people just say stick to Stardew, but check it out, I guess. Wargroove 2. I was actually a pretty big fan of Wargroove 1. It's sort of a Armored Wars clone, but it's actually very, very fun. And this just seems to be more of the same with a lot more classes and maps and stuff. So yeah, this might be one to check out. I do love these type of games. They're really, really, really fun. So definitely check it out. And then Dave the Diver is finally coming to the Switch. I believe October 27th or something like that. So sometime in October. Keep your eyes out for that. That is such a great game. I would highly suggest just playing it on PC though. I tried playing this game on PC with a controller and it was sort of a nightmare until I switched to the mouse and keyboard, and it's a lot easier with a mouse. But I think the game is a ton of fun. Unfortunately, I haven't put a ton of hours into it just because I've gotten distracted with so many other games. You know, it's been a very, very stacked year for video games. So, but Dave the Diver is definitely one to check out. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting more booster courses, and this is, in fact, its final booster course coming out later this year. And we got a few new characters coming as well. We got Diddy Kong coming. We got Peachette coming. We got Funky Kong coming. And we got Pauline coming. So that's pretty exciting. The fact that this is the final DLC pack coming, I think is another sign that we're getting the Switch 2 very soon. And we're going to get Mario Kart 8 Super Deluxe for the Super Switch. Watch it happen. And it comes with all the DLC so that they could just sell the same game again. Right? Like, that's totally what's going to happen. You watch. You wait and see it. Among Us is getting some DLC, like a new DLC map. So yeah, I guess if you're excited for that, I would love to play more Among Us, but no one ever wants to play with me and I have no friends. So there you go. This is Lonercast after all. If you want to play Among Us with me, leave a comment. And then we got a reveal of Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door, which is a remake of a old Paper Mario game that people love and adore. And it looks really, really nice. The new graphics look amazing. It looks like there's some added gameplay elements. It looks like they've added some stories, like some like quests to it even. I think it looks amazing, and I can't wait for this one. This one's coming out next year sometime. And this was sort of their big seller for this Nintendo Direct. So like I said, after going through everything, it wasn't like the most amazing Nintendo Direct, but it was pretty interesting. There was some neat stuff there, and I think it definitely spells out the future of the Switch. That we're kind of wrapping things up here. You know, I think 1,000-Year Door is going to be one of the last big games coming to the Switch. We might get the announcement of like Metroid coming out, but that'll probably be like a cross-gen sort of game if it does come to both systems. So I think we'll hear more next year, like I said, like in March probably. But I don't know. Tokyo Game Show is coming up next week. Could we get more hardware news at the Tokyo Game Show? That's something to keep an eye on. They could just announce it behind closed doors, and then we hear more and more about it just slowly over time. I wouldn't be surprised by that either, but I am willing to bet that Nintendo doesn't want to announce the new Switch before the holiday season this year, because they want this to be the last big year to sell those Switch consoles for Christmas. So that's kind of my thought process with why they won't announce it quite yet. So let's jump on over to the PlayStation State of Play that took place on the same day, September 14th, which was an interesting decision on both Nintendo and Sony's part to have a State of Play and a Nintendo Direct on the same day. But here we are. And everyone lived. This was much shorter than the Nintendo Direct. This was 27 minutes versus Nintendo's 40-minute Direct. And I'm far less impressed by this one than the Nintendo Direct. Here's the weird thing. And maybe we could talk more about this after we go through the State of Play, but here's the weird thing. The Nintendo Switch is sort of starting to wind down and wrap things up, but they still had a lot of stuff to show off for the Switch coming out. The PS5 is just getting started. It's a new console. It's, 3 years old, if that, and it kind of had a slow start because of COVID. And now they're finally on shelves. We're finally getting rolling with the new generation of consoles. And we don't know what is going on with Sony next year. Like, we don't know any of their games next year. None of them. We know that Spider-Man's coming out, this year. We know that Helldivers is coming out at the end of this year as well. We know during this State of Play, we got an announcement for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 coming out early next year. But for the most part, those are second-party games besides Spider-Man. And as far as first-party Sony developers, we don't know what's going on, where they are, what they're making. I thought we would see at least one thing here. We didn't. We didn't see anything. And last week, if you go watch last week's episode, I did say I don't think we're going to see anything too extravagant at this State of Play. But, the further we get along and we don't see anything from Sony, the more concerned I'm getting. At the showcase last year, we didn't see anything. At the showcase this year, we didn't see anything. Actually, last year, they didn't even have showcase. And this year's showcase, they didn't really show anything other than some proofs of concept. So I don't know if Sony even has a game coming out next year. I guess we'll see. But what's going on? The State of Play opened with this game by Bennett Foddy, who, if you don't know who he is, he made that game Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Which is all about, just really horrible, janky controls, but on purpose. And this seems to be sort of more of the same. To open with this game is a weird choice. It was very funny, don't get me wrong, and I think this game is going to be great. But I don't know why Sony would open with this, and not only open with this, but spend so much time on it. A very strange decision on Sony's part. I mean, good for Bennett Foddy. I think he's a really cool dude. I've seen him in some interviews. But yeah, very interesting to open with this. We did get an announcement that Roblox is finally coming to PlayStation, which is surprising that Roblox wasn't on PlayStation already, considering how massive it is on PC. So yeah, get excited for Roblox coming to PlayStation. Maybe PlayStation was sort of anti-Roblox because they were really trying to push Dreams as their own sort of Roblox, and now that Dreams hasn't really taken off the way they had hoped, they're like, fuck it, let's just put Roblox on here. That's gotta be it. Ghostbusters, Lord of the Ghost Lords, or whatever it's called, is coming to PlayStation VR, and this game actually looks like fun. You're just hunting ghosts with your friends in VR. I think if I had a VR and some friends who had a VR, I would probably download this and play it. But I don't have VR and I don't have any friends, and if I did have friends, they wouldn't be playing VR. So yeah, this is I guess a win for VR, but I don't know. I feel like VR is on its way out. Well, speaking of VR, Resident Evil 4 is getting a VR version, which would be pretty terrifying. I don't know how you make a third-person game VR, but they're doing it. So get excited for that. It says it's coming this winter. So I guess they're not going to be able to hit that Halloween mark, but, you know, a spooky winter game sounds fun, I guess. And then coming in September, we're getting some more Resident Evil 4 stuff. We're getting Resident Evil 4 DLC coming September 24th. I really, really wanted to play this game, and I just haven't gotten around to it. And I wanted to play it for Halloween until I found out Alan Wake is coming around Halloween, so I'm probably going to be playing Alan Wake. Man, I really, really want to play this game at some point. So maybe at the end of this month, I'll pick it up when this DLC comes out. Because, goddamn, it looks so good. I wasn't expecting to see this game here, but the Avatar game got a little bit of a showcase here at the State of Play. This game is supposed to come out in December, and they doubled down on that at the State of Play. So, you know, Avatar Far Cry, it's coming. I don't know if this is when I'll be playing. Maybe when December comes around and I'm playing nothing, maybe I'll check it out. Probably not, though. But it doesn't look bad. But it doesn't look amazing either. Ghost Runner 2 got a little bit of a showcase. I did play a little bit of Ghost Runner 1, and I enjoyed it. I think Ghost Runner 2 looks fun and like more of the same. And you can go play the demo right now over on PlayStation. So definitely go check that out if you have a PlayStation. Sony announced some new covers for both their controllers and their PS5s, you know, the panels. So you can go out and buy some of those. It's like blue and red and purple. So there you go. Pretty basic stuff that should be a given. I don't know. There should be like a whole website just full of an unlimited amount of colors, at least for those side panels of the PS5, because the side panels are so ugly as they are. Let me customize them at least. At least. Like 3 colors, that's all you're giving us? Here's the thing that pisses me off. There was a whole company that was doing these side panels for the PS5, and Sony shut them down, and their reasoning was like, oh, because we're going to be releasing our own. But they're not doing anything interesting. They're only doing these like solid colors. We've got white, blue, and red. That's so bullshit. I want to put like Crash Bandicoot on the side of this bitch. You know what I mean? I want to get like a whole like comic book panel on the side of my PlayStation. Like, do something interesting like that. This is so lame and boring. Like, if you're going to have these ugly-ass consoles, at least do something interesting with them. I think the PS5 is the ugliest console to ever exist, and I wholeheartedly stand by that. Moving right along, we did get a little demo here of Helldivers 2, and it was very cheesy. You know, it was like video game conventions of old, where they had like the people pretending to play the game. You know, I'm communicating with my friends or whatever over voice chat. And it's just so cheesy and lame. And I gotta say, like, nothing about this like really got me super, super hyped for Helldivers. I am interested in Helldivers. I will say though, like, this doesn't look like fucking Helldivers though, right? Like, Helldivers was this like asymmetric sort of game, and making it this like over the shoulder shooter is cool, but call it something else, because this is not fucking Helldivers, right? Like, come on. Maybe I'm just being a bitter contrarian right now, but I don't know. If you're going to make Helldivers 2, make it look like fucking Helldivers at least. And this game, I don't know. It looks fine. I might check it out. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I really hope this comes to PC too, because I would much rather play this on PC. Sony showed off a little bit more of Spider-Man. I didn't need to see any more Spider-Man, but what they did show was amazing. They showed how fast travel works in this, and you can fast travel pretty much anywhere, and it's pretty much just instantaneous. And it's fucking epic. The wingsuit is looking amazing. They showed off a little bit more of the wingsuit, and there's like slipstreams, so you can take your wingsuit into these slipstreams and get just shot across the city. This game looks incredible. I don't need to see any more of this game. And I am buying this game day one. You can't stop me. I am so hyped. New Tales game, Tales of Arise, is coming out in November. This is the quadrillionth Tales game. So if you like the Tales series, this is definitely one to check out, obviously. I've never really played the Tales games. They do seem like games I would enjoy. I just don't have enough time in the day to play Tales games. So Honkai Star Rail, I really have zero to say about this game. This game comes out very soon, and it looks, I don't know. There's so many of games that have this sort of art style that they're all just sort of blending together a little bit for me, and just looks sort of uninteresting turn-based RPG. And I like turn-based RPGs, but like, I don't know. This ain't doing much for me unless I see a bunch of reviews for this that are like, this is the best thing ever. I don't know. It does look somewhat flashy. It just, I don't know. It just isn't doing much for me. Speaking of not doing much for me, Foam Stars got a little bit of a spotlight here as well. Interestingly, people got to play Foam Stars over at Gamescom, and they said it was a lot of fun, actually. And I just can't see it because I still think this game looks like dog shit. But we've got an open beta coming out pretty soon, so maybe I'll check out the open beta and I'll report back. But it looks so bad and goofy. So you could try to get into the beta on the 29th. I'll try to, it's an open beta, so I'll check it out and I'll play a little bit of it. Fuck it. I'll put it in my calendar now. We'll check it out. Maybe I'll stream it. And then the big announcement of this state of play was Final Fantasy VII Part 2. Got the release date of February 29th. I think this game looks great. I think it takes the elements of the first one, which I thought was pretty good, but I didn't love it. I thought I had some issues with some of the gameplay elements of it, but I think this one really takes that what they did in the first one and expand upon it, put it in this sort of like almost pseudo open world, made the world more livable. They added seemingly just a lot more content to that foundation that they built in the first one. And I think that's why the first one took so long, is because they wanted to build a really, really good foundation. So then when they make these sequels, they can use that foundation to just sort of build off of. Because this one came a lot quicker than the first one. So I hope that means we get the third one just as quickly as we got this one. I mean, it's been a few years, but, considering it, they announced the first one and it took them like 13 years for them to release it. This is a much quicker clip. Yeah, so that was the state of play, and I gotta say, I wasn't like super impressed with it. I thought there were some things there that I thought looked really cool. I think the announcement of the Resident Evil DLC, great. Final Fantasy VII Part 2, great. Foam Stars, fantastic. Helldivers, more info on Helldivers, I thought is necessary and good as well. More info on Spider-Man, unnecessary, still cool we got it, and I don't know. I just wish we knew what was going on with Sony next year. There's been rumors of a PS5 Pro. Where's that? There's been rumors of a PS5 Slim. Where's that? There's been rumors of a detachable disc tray for the discless PS5. Where's that? But most importantly, where are the games? Where are the games? And I think that's the most important question as of right now. All right, let's jump over to the news, and we have one piece of news here, and it's a doozy. So we had a bit of controversy with Unity last week, and we have an article here written by Matt Wales over at Eurogamer. Unity reveals plans to charge per game install, drawing criticism from development community. So let's check out this article from Mr. Matt Wales here. Unity has announced dramatic changes to its Unity Engine business model, which will see it introduce a monthly fee per game install beginning on the 1st of January next year. A move that has drawn considerable criticism from the development community. Unity, the engine behind countless acclaimed games including Tunic, Cuphead, Hollow Knight, Citizen Sleeper, RimWorld, Outer Wilds, Fall Guys, Ori and the Blind Forest, and City Skylines, was previously licensed to developers using a royalty-free model built around subscription tiers. Anyone whose revenue or funding was less than $100,000 over the course of the year, and who didn't want access to features such as the ability to remove the Unity splash screen, could stick to the free Unity personal license, while a Unity Plus subscription was required up to $200,000 in revenue, and a Unity Pro or above subscription was needed for more. As of January 1st, 2024, however, developers will be expected to pay an additional monthly Unity runtime fee per new game install, seemingly including reinstalls and installs across multiple devices, on top of their existing license subscription. With those fees kicking in for titles that have made 200,000 or more in the last 12 months and have had at least 200,000 lifetime game installs, Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise subscribers, meanwhile, will see the fees applied after passing the $1 million revenue and 1 million lifetime installs threshold. Once the fees kick in, developers using Unity Personal will be expected to pay 20 cents per new install above the 200,000 threshold each month. The Unity Pro and Enterprise subscribers will be required to pay 15 or 12 cents respectively after crossing the $1 million line, a figure that will decrease as higher install thresholds are reached. Unity Plus, meanwhile, is being retired as of today, meaning access to advanced features will now require at least $2,000 annual subscription, a $2,000 annual subscription, an increase of over $1,600 compared to Unity Plus. Unity's new fees will be applied retroactively to all games already on the market that cross its revenue and install thresholds, and to all games regardless of price, raising questions around the viability of free game giveaways, game demos, bundles, and more. And there's concern developers may now face charges for pirated game installs. There are also questions around how the changes will complicate the logistics of being on services like Game Pass. The industry response so far appears to be a mixture of outrage, disbelief, and confusion, with some developers already publicly pledging to switch engines. Eurogamer has reached out to a number of studios for their response in today's changes, including Size 5 Games' Dan Marshall, creator of the acclaimed Lair of the Clockwork God, The Swindle, and more. Here's what Marshall told us. It's an absolute fucking catastrophe, and I'll be jumping ship to Unreal as soon as I can. Most indies simply don't have the resources to deal with these kind of batshit logistics. Publishers are less likely to take on Unity games because there's now a cost and an overhead. How this is being tracked is super vague and feels half thought through. It seems open to review bombing exploits, but in a way that actually costs developers. If someone buys a game on Steam and installs it on 3 machines, are devs liable for 3 payments? If so, that sucks. Game Pass is suddenly a massive headache. The list goes on. It's all just utterly horrible, and they need to backtrack on this instantly, or every dev I know is likely jumping ship tomorrow. I have a couple of projects on the go in Unity right now, and they're far enough along that changing engine is an option, and I get a sickly feeling in my stomach just thinking about this. A horrendous policy, presumably dreamed up by the money men. I'm legitimately quite angry. I've been using Unity for over 10 years. That's a lot of investment in a system I'm about to drop like a hot rock. End quote. We'll continue to share developers' reactions as we hear more. There is an update here, but let's just dive into this real quick. So from what I hear, is that the new CEO of Unity was the former CEO of EA, the guy that turned EA into the most hated company in the world for 2 years in a row. This is an absolute batshit decision on their part. I cannot believe that they thought this was a good idea. I don't even know how this is legal. How can, like, these are many of these games that are going to be affected by this are games that are already in existence. And when they used that engine, this was not something that they thought would affect them. And just to keep their game up on like on Steam or whatever, they have to keep paying these fees. It's ridiculous. It would be like if I used a paintbrush, right? If I used a paintbrush to make a painting, then I had to pay the paintbrush manufacturer every time I sold a copy of my image. That would be ridiculous, right? Like, that would be the stupidest shit ever. It doesn't make sense. This seems legally dubious at best, especially for the games that already existed. I think in the future, like, people who make new games on this, I guess they are legally, if they sign off on that, that's how it goes. But how can they take money from games that were made on the system before this system even existed? Like, it just doesn't make sense at all. And I can't imagine anyone's going to use Unity anymore. And it just sucks because Unity used to be like the indie, this was the indie engine. This was the indie engine. This was what all indie developers used because it was easy to work with and it was cheap. And they go on to say, like, in the update here, and we'll go and read this whole update here as well, but they're like, we only wanted this to affect bigger developers and successful games, but, like, $200,000 in revenue, that is a lot of money in revenue, but, like, that could still be pretty small considering how much video games cost to make. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's just sort of ridiculous. So let's jump into this update here. This is an update from Matt Wales over at Eurogamer. As fury among developers continues to mount following Unity's dramatic changes to its Unity engine business model, the company has taken to social media to provide clarifying answers to the top questions being asked. Quote, yes, this is a pricey increase and it will only affect a small subset of our current Unity editor users. Today, a large majority of Unity editor users are currently not paying anything and will not be affected by this change. The Unity runtime fee will not impact the majority of our developers. The developers who will be impacted are generally those who have successful games and are generating revenue way above the thresholds we outlined in our blog. This means that developers who are still building their businesses and growing the audience of their games will not pay a fee. The program was designed specifically this way to ensure developers could find success before the install fee takes effect. Unity has also clarified the changes are not retroactive or perpetual, noting it will only charge once for a new install made after January 1st, 2024. However, while it won't be charging for previously made installs, fees do indeed apply to all games currently on the market, meaning should any existing player of an older game that exceeds Unity's various thresholds decide to reinstall it after January 1st, a charge will still be made. That is so fucking scummy, dude. That is so wrong. That is so wrong, dude. What the fuck? Unity has also failed to assuage concerns in other areas. It has, for instance, revealed developers will be charged based on its own internal assessment of what it believes to be an accurate number of new installs. As determined by proprietary data model, it says it won't fully detail, only noting it believes the system gives an accurate determination of the number of times the runtime is distributed for a given project. So basically, they could go to any fucking developer and be like, hey, you owe us this much because we say so. Because you used our engine, you owe us this much money. You owe us this much money because you used our engine one time. It's just so fucked. I like at this point, it almost just seems more worth it to just make your own fucking engine. Like, it sounds like it's just gonna cost you a shit ton of money. And like, if you are one of those small developers that ends up gaining any sort of success, once you gain that success, you're instantly fucked by these fees. Like, it's so fucked. This isn't. It's so fucked. Unity has also failed to shed much light on how it plans to prevent fees being applied to pirated games or in instances where excess installs might be carried out maliciously. All questions on the subject from concerned developers have been met with the stock reply of, "We do already have fraud detection practices in our ads technology, which is solving a similar problem. So we will leverage that know-how as a starting point." That is so fucked. They don't even know how they're going to handle this. They're just like, "Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. No big deal." It's ridiculous. Additionally, while its updated FAQ remains hazy on the next nature of, on the exact nature of install, Axios's Stephen Totillo has received clarification from Unity that a developer will be charged every time a user installs games, including each time they choose to delete then reinstall it. Additionally, every new device a game is installed on will count as a chargeable install, making it clear that the company plans to accrue fees far and above the number of individual sales of a game. That is so fucked. That is so fucked. A bit of good news: charity games and bundles are said to be exempt from the fees. However, demos that let players get to a full game will, according to Unity's new FAQ, be hit with a fee, as well as early access games and betas. The same FAQ also dodges the question of whether or not Unity's updated runtime will call home to the company, only saying that runtime installs will be calculated based on GDPR and CCPA compliant data of numerous sources. "We are actively listening to and following your questions closely," the company concluded. That is insane. I want to know, like, for games that are given out as charities, if those games are, bundled in with the charity and then, taken and put on your Steam, and then you install it, then uninstall it, then reinstall it, how would they be able to clarify that that was a charity product? How are they able to monitor that? How are they able to even figure that out? It just seems like a nightmare for their end too. Like, they're gonna spend $1 gajillion just to figure out the technology to track all of this, which makes me think they're not even gonna track all of it. They're just gonna be spitballing. They're gonna be spitballing the whole time, and they're just like, "You owe us, $10,000 because we said so." But it should just be like an upright, here's how much it costs to use our engine, right? Like, this is our engine cost. If you want to use our engine, this is how much it costs. If you want to put royalty prices on it, put that up front, and don't make it for installs, make it for game sales. And I know that why they put it for installs, because they're worried about things like Game Pass. Which they did in a statement also say that studios don't need to worry about Game Pass because they will go directly to Microsoft for funding for the royalties of those installs. And I just got to tell you right now, Xbox and Sony are not gonna fucking pay you those fees. They made no agreement with you. They have no agreement with Unity. And I think that's legally dubious. I don't know how they get around that. I don't know how that's even possible. And if it is possible, that's fucked. And to me, this marks the end of Unity. Unreal Engine has been getting better and better and better every year. Unity has been getting... It's about the same. There's some great games on Unity, obviously. But, like, this marks the end. I think this is... Right now, this is the time for another big... engine to be brought to the market as a sort of counter. This is our better engine. It's cheap. It's great for indies. It's easy to use, easier than Unreal, easier than Unity. You know, I think we need to see something like that. It's super cheap. All of their royalties are up front. You know, it's all listed very, boom, there it is. It just makes no fucking sense. All of this is a nightmare, and I guarantee you next year or next week we're gonna see them backpedal on this. They have to, right? They have to. Otherwise, we're gonna just see a whole slew of games just leave the Steam marketplace. Well, that's it. That's our show. I do want to point out a few things. I've been playing a couple things over the past week. I did play a bit more Starfield, and I'm actually enjoying Starfield quite a bit. What I will say is I think the over-encumbrance mechanic in that game is absolutely dreadful. You pick up 3 things and you're over-encumbered. I've upgraded my fitness twice already, and I can barely carry anything. As soon as you have like guns that you're carrying, you're over-encumbered, and it just makes exploration and discovery not fun at all. So that is my biggest issue with Starfield. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. I have been playing Starfield, and that is my thoughts on Starfield currently. Let's jump into next week in games real quick. Gloomhaven is coming to PS5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch on September 18th. If you've never played Gloomhaven, it's a really, really good time. I highly recommend it. It started out as a tabletop game, and I've played the tabletop game a bunch, and it's a lot of fun. And honestly, the video game version is just as fun. Lies of P is coming out September 19th for PS5, Xbox Series, basically everything except for the Switch. Mortal Kombat 1 is coming to PS5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC on September 19th. You Suck at Parking is coming to everything on September 19th. Party Animals is coming to Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC on September 20th. Days of Doom is coming to everything on September 21st. Payday 3 is coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC on September 21st. And then Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways DLC is coming to PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, and PC on September 21st. Once again, I just want to thank everyone for watching. This was a bit of a longer episode because we had a lot to talk about. But we will be back. We will be back next week. And by we, I mean probably me. Maybe Nick. Maybe Nick will show up again. That'd be nice. But, you know, I will definitely be here. Check out some of our other content on the YouTube channel. We do spoiler casts over there. You can find this on Spotify by looking up Last Week in Games. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/lonercast. And you can find our YouTube channel by looking up Lonercast as well. I really appreciate you guys. A like and subscribe really helps a lot. Thanks.